everyone. Thank you for joining us on Art in Action on ETV. I'm your host, Robin Ann Peters. Each month, we will discuss new artists in the area. Coming up on the program is local artist James Chase from Manchester. His unique insight as an artist we will discuss in the studio as well as on location in his own personal workshop. It should be a very interesting show. Thank you for joining us. We're going to go to his studio right now. James, when you're getting these pieces, what does it feel like when you find something that, I mean, does something strike you sometimes, or do you let things go? Yeah, I guess I'm asking a lot of questions, really, right? But what's it like to find a new piece, and what makes you decide to get this versus that? And you must leave things on the road. So
yeah, I have to, or else I'd accumulate so much. Every once in a while, I have to purge. But as you can see, I'm a hoarder, and I collect and collect.
It's very organized as well.
But what I look for, though, is like maybe a certain patina or a certain characteristic, like, and from there, it finds its home in my workshop. And like the wall is an assemblage of pieces. And
do you ever go out on a mission for something very specific? And
no, the pieces just speak to me serendipitously. I'll find, and I'll go, you know what, this will fit perfect with the saw blade I have, and the relationships form that way. I'll never just like go out and say, you know, I need an antenna. I find them.
Okay, so now this wall actually that's behind us, it changes a lot.
Yeah, it changes a lot. Like if you look in past photos, you can see the different pieces and go, oh, actually that's now in the cube, or that's in Lost My Faith. And
that's a really great thing for an artist.
So this is actually a piece of art for myself. It's like a little installation. And
Chronicles.
Yeah.
The James Chase Chronicles. That's good. Now you have a book, actually.
Yeah, I self-published a book through blurb.com. It's really easy for me to get my portfolio out there to people, and it's affordable, so I can just pretty much give them away to like galleries or
nice,
like my colleagues at school. Or so it's.
And that's is it really technical or?
No, it's I did a lot of it myself in Photoshop, but they have templates. You can just drop your own images in. So, kids in class now are doing it just as a way to say, okay, this is what we did in photo too, and they show like everyone gets a piece in it, and you can buy a book and you have everybody's artwork in it. So,
have you made a lot of sales from the book directly?
It's pretty much I've come even with it, but to me, I've got exposure. Now everyone's got that, and at first I was kind of hesitant to do the book because people like, you know, you have this artwork, it's precious, like you can actually hold it, and then I'm like, you know, it's taking this three-dimensional form and putting it 2D, but at the same time, even though it's not as precious, it makes it affordable to the masses.
Oh, so right. So there's actually your work's
it's
out
a different
there
piece of artwork.
Exactly.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Now, the pieces, when you look at them in the book, look very small, but actually some of them are very large.
Yeah.
What's the largest piece that you've created?
I just did I've been actually branching out of this assemblage and doing a lot more. Speaking of multiples, is like installations. So I did an installation in Peterborough. Where I covered this entire room with the same image, and it was an eyeball, and I made it small like a postage stamp, and then I just kept blowing it up, blowing it up, so that the whole room was just all these eyes. Some of them were on doors, so you could open them up, and it'd reveal like a closer eye, or so like.
That's so fantastic.
And then people could actually buy sections of it, so when you pulled the piece off, it would change and it'd reveal like. It was basically like an introspective, like thinking inside my head, but like revealing myself.
Where is it? Is it someplace
yeah, and I have images right on my computer too.
Can people go visit it?
It just came down because there's another great installation show up. But
do you have pictures?
Yep.
Okay, on your website maybe?
Soon.
Okay,
yeah.
So we'll be looking for those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Neverfading.com.
Neverfading.com. All right. Well, we'll definitely want to check that out. Can we go over to your workbench and maybe check out something that you're working on or something that we haven't seen yet?
Okay.
Okay, great.
This way.
James, your work has a lot of nails, I noticed. There are nails on the piece that we just saw. There's nails here. There's a piece in the back I think I saw some nails on. Do you do this work for therapy? Does that help you a little bit with your...
Yeah. I always have a battle between like content over like craft, and some people like might think like, oh, well, you know, it's all that chaos isn't necessary, but for me, with a lot of like previous health issues and they weren't controllable, it was like kind of like I viewed it as like an infection that it was just all over the place. So like I have a lot of imposing forces on my work, and just to really drive it
I
home.
wasn't aware that you had health issues, but is that, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Just, so like, but it was just like a lot of things that are out of my hands. So there's like all these like,
there's a lot of tension.
Yeah, a lot of
that.
Yeah, a lot of negative spaces where the people are being held down, and yeah.
I see that some people have called it the dark art of James Chase. Is that something that you did, or did that kind of come upon you?
At first, I got called that, and I kind of latched onto it. Now I'm slowly growing out of it, but my first couple shows were like art in the parks, and I'm usually there with like watercolors and just acrylic. So like I stood out like a sore thumb, and they're like, "Oh, well, that." And one lady was on the by, she's like, "You don't want to look at that? That's dark art." And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of clever." So I did it as a key phrase, but now
it could be like your blue face.
Yeah.
And then now you're getting on to the next thing, but of course the value in these pieces is extraordinary. I really enjoy looking at them. I mean, look at these old people. Now, where do you get all these pictures? Is this all your family?
The people aren't my family, but a lot of the cases have to do with my family. Like, this was actually a lantern. So it was, I take it camping with my grandfather, and now I forget the history of it. There is some nostalgia, but now I've transformed it into me like this little tank.
Is this a friend of yours?
Yeah, it's a friend of mine. Yeah.
This eyeball, I see it. It's in a lot of your pieces.
Yeah,
what's that all about?
I use the eyeball as like a symbol, like an icon for like restricted vision, internal thinking, and it goes all the way back to like Odysseus and like the Cyclops and.
The Cyclops.
And with me, like with my health issue, I suffered from bulimia for 3 years, and so like the Cyclops, like he just like he gorged on people, and so like for me, like knowing like you have to know where you came from to continue on. So like just the history of the Cyclops is really powerful to me. So
I like it. I think it's sort of a signature. Well, the eyeball that we just talked about, that massive structure that you did, that whole wall is extraordinary, and that's the eyeball. So, I don't know, do you want to plan on keeping that for kind of ever and ever?
I want to, but at the same time, I feel like I've kind of got all that I can from it. So now I'm moving on, and at first it was just the eyeball, and now I'm moving on to the telephone as a form of communication. So these images speak. So now I'm doing a lot of even just telephones with vast open spaces. So
communications.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, that's what art is about, really.
Yeah, and that's why I'm moving more into printmaking too. I'm still doing my assemblages, but with the printmaking, I can go in and crank out a silk screen in an afternoon, and I've got like 10 layers in it, and there's something immediate about it, and I don't have to worry about it. I can just give it out to my friends because there's so many of them. There's that multiple. So
what's the silk screen like though? I don't think you have any pieces in the workshop of that. Do you do the silk screen in another location?
Yeah, I'm also the print technician at the New Hampshire Institute of Art, so I get to help fellow students and TA, and as a perk I get to use all
Perfect. Well, that's a nice perk.
All the French press and the silk shop and all that for free. So
silk shop. So you're printing on silk?
No, it's silk screen. Silk screen used to be printed on silk, but now it's like nylon and all that. But I can show you an example. Let me go get one.
All right, that'd be great. Okay. James, these are great. I mean, this is maybe you should explain this.
Okay, this was like when I said content and technique. This is what I mean. This is almost where I want it, but I'm using those halftone matrices that you'd see like in newspapers and
it does look like a
commercial
newspaper,
printing.
Actually. Yeah.
But I'm trying to use the dot as that way of representing that chaos. So the installation I was talking about earlier, where I covered the room with the eye getting bigger and smaller, this is another example where I'm changing the pixel size, and as they get closer, it almost works as a solid, but it's still that. So it's really chaotic, but at the same time.
Is this a finished piece?
It's almost there. Yeah. So.
What else are you gonna do to it?
I might just clean up some of the spots and maybe kick back some areas, and just to give some solids to give the eye some rest, because it is so like intense and it's not your normal CMYK. I kind of mixed up the colors and added some.
And you do a lot of things that are not typical.
So
that's good, and I think that's what makes your artwork so intriguing and compelling. Now, we're on the phone and the eye theme.
Yep. Yeah,
Now-
so that, like I said, that's like, this is one of the transition pieces where I'm still got like the eye, but I've got the phone, so.
That makes sense. Okay, that's, did you,
Yeah, so it's all about communication to me, and
what are you communicating?
for a while I wasn't asking for help, and now I'm just looking back, I'm just using it as source material, because I want to be true to myself. I don't want to just be like, oh, I do this because blah, blah, blah. So it's all about like new life and just healing to me. So it was like an art therapy, and
It's sort of a regeneration, maybe?
yeah, so I mean that's the whole reason why I'm using the found objects too, is it's a way for me to recycle them. And some of my first artworks were like of a little duck like with magnifying glass, and he's searching, and it, to me, all that stuff is still relevant to what I do now, even though those little cartoons was because it was like coming into myself and finding my way. And so
Okay, now how long, and let's look at another piece actually while we're right here. I want to take this one.
This one was prior to the original, to this other silkscreen.
Mm-hmm.
So this one's just a more typical halftone CMYK process print, but this one's actually my girlfriend.
Does she like it?
Well, it's called The Healer, so she
Did she like it because of the name, or I think it's kind of a nice image. I'd be flattered. All right, let's take a look at another one then. This one, is that your mom over there? Let's see.
There's that one.
No, so it's not your mom.
No, that's my, she'd kill me for saying this, my girlfriend's mother.
Oh, perfect. Well, you can have a whole,
Yeah.
it's a family portrait session.
Yeah.
Dad's next.
Yeah, so, and if you notice, there's a lot of, except for my friend there, there's a lot of, like, women in it. I was raised by women, and
okay.
it's all, like, the women in my life that have helped me get to this point. And,
Is your
and been
girlfriend
there.
again?
No, this is my little sister, actually,
Aw,
Crystal.
that's special. Where's you? Is there a self-portrait anywhere? That's all right. We can get to it probably later in the program. That would be, or not.
Okay.
Maybe it's special secret. But do you have one?
Of these?
Of anything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll find that.
Okay.
Okay, well, I want to make a phone call. Hello, Tokyo. Okay. Anyway, no, seriously, where did I want you to talk about this one, because I really do like this piece, and actually, I'm glad that came out, because if I had broken it, I think I probably would have been horrified.
Yeah.
But what is this actually an old telephone box?
No, it's my my grandfather's old tool case, his toolbox.
Oh,
So
neat.
this is actually the bottom.
Okay.
And
You want to turn it around? I don't want to
turn it around. This would actually be the top of it, but I added the backing and flipped it around and cut a hole in it.
Now, these are some of the images that you got online.
Nope, they're old advertising ads, mob bell ads from back
Old magazines?
Yeah, from National Geographics and all that, and I've scanned them and manipulated, painted on them, printed them back out, and
Wow.
so this one's called Follow the Leader, where you've got this larger voice on the phone, and then you've got the two like demons down below, like back on the phone talking, and it's darker down there. The light is closer to the top, but
There's a light inside there.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't see that it was. Oh.
Yeah, I'm slowly evolving from the static images where I've tried to make the illusion of kinetics and light, and now I'm actually starting to add lights into the pieces. This one actually makes sounds too when you push the knob, but I left it on the last show, so the battery's dead. I gotta put new batteries in it. But
This is a piece of art right in itself, really. This is an old circuit board?
Yep.
Now, does that actually have any functional purpose, or is it just there for decoration?
It's there for decoration, and it's that whole heritage, nostalgia. A lot of these things you can't find anymore. We're such a disposable society that, phones just aren't made like that anymore.
They're not. This is the kind of art that you would want to have in your house, because I'm holding, how old do you think this is? 1950s?
Yeah,
Probably 1940s. It feels really, look at it. Okay, we need, I'm not authentically historic on, phone stuff, but somebody out there might be.
And that's the thing too, is so I know that where I've come from to make these pieces, but when I do my artist statement and I say that it's about recycling and rebirth and all that, people don't need to know my back history.
True.
To know it. I like to leave it more ambiguous, not having that be a cop-out, because I know where it's come from, but like I said, once I put it up on the wall, it's out of my hands. The context can change, and then depending on what I show it with, it might mean something different too. So
James, I want to thank you so much for letting me come into your studio. It really means a lot to me.
No problem. Thanks for stopping by and checking it all out.
I want to come back for sure, but I want to invite you to the studio because I'd like to talk to you more. I know you're really busy, so it would be excellent if you could come by.
Okay, and I'll bring what I'm working on currently, too.
I'd love that.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay.
In the progress. So.
Well, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
I'll see you. See you soon. Okay. We're in the studio today with James Chase. He's an artist from Manchester, New Hampshire, and I'd like to welcome you into the studio, James.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
Oh, it's great. And there's a piece behind us, and actually I'd like to talk about it a little bit. This is your first piece that you ever created that's multimedia?
Yep. Yeah. I started off doing paintings and collages, and this was the first mixed media piece that I did that kind of incorporated all of them.
Okay, now tell me a little bit how you decided to do this piece.
This one's called Mechanical Heart. I was just flipping through a book and I found a quote. I think it might be Woody Allen, but
Woody Allen?
don't count me on
for
that.
Lots of art.
But it said, if I don't find a piece from a mechanical heart, I'm going to stop loving you. So
He wrote that?
yeah, it was just a
Okay.
little quote, and I just recently broke up with a girlfriend, and
So it
it was
resonated
out of
with
the
you?
blue. So I was like, how could she just break up with me? So I was like, well, I'm going to take this and make an art piece for it.
Sure.
So since it was end of relationship, like I did a lot of like tubes and like these knots, and this is the result. So it's a heart, but he's kind of smiling because I was happy it was over. So you can use anything for inspiration for art. So.
Well, certainly breakups have been an inspiration for a lot of
Yeah.
artwork.
Yeah, artwork, mixtapes, like any of that stuff. So.
Sure, exactly. Can you describe some of the pieces that might have gone into this piece?
Yep, there's electrical tubing that I used for like the knots or intestines.
That's like the guts of
Yeah,
the whole
the
thing.
guts of it. Then like a carpet trowel. I installed carpet for a while, so if people that don't know it, you take glue and you spread it down, and there's a lot of scraping and a lot of like, you have to really dig into it. So I used that piece purposely for that. So there's like the spikes and
What is that trowel, what does that represent in the piece?
just that it dragged on and on and on. So yeah.
So you were glad that
I was
over.
glad. That's why he's kind of smiling. So.
Now, the frame, did you create the wood, or not the wood, obviously,
Yeah.
God created the wood,
Yeah.
but how did you make the frame for this piece?
Just mitered it together and did a lot of stains, and it's not perfect because to me nothing is perfect, but
Sure.
that's why it's kind of splintering, and then the piece is actually coming out of side of the frame, so it's like escaping and moving on.
Oh, yes, fantastic. Because it actually
Yeah.
loops around the side,
Yeah.
so it's not contained.
Yep.
You think you might get back together with this girl?
Oh no, I'm
Your girlfriend's probably happy to hear
Yeah.
that, or your wife, or your significant other.
yes.
When we were back in the studio, or am I foreshadowing? Back in your, where you do all your work.
Yep.
We actually talked about a little bit of how this art has developed in you, and you had some sort of health issue.
Yep.
And I just really like to know, and probably the people would really like to know what that is all about, just so that maybe they understand your artwork a little bit more.
I had an eating issue. It was all eating disorder, so it was all about like, I wasn't doing it like body image wise, it was just a way for me to control things, so I wouldn't eat like when I was younger, like parents would fight, and it was just my way of like, okay, I'm going into my room, and as I got older, it just sort of escalated, so I finally had to reach out for help, and this was one way of me for like my therapy, and I'm healthy now, but
Wonderful. I'm really happy to hear that.
yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so then it was therapy, creating your artwork.
Yeah.
And
And now it's just taken a life on its own, and I've moved on from there. And
how have you brought, how long ago did you begin actually this process?
this process,
This was
I'd
your
say,
first piece, so when was that one completed?
probably 8 years ago.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
How many pieces have you created?
Oh, I'd say about 30.
And how many of them been sold?
About half. I have about
Wow.
15 of them that have sold. Yeah.
What are the customers like?
All crazy, from people that own garages. That one of them I had spark plugs here in Nashua. I sold like really art in the park, and at bottle caps and car parts. And he's like, "This is gonna be perfect above my desk. So when people come into my garage, it's gonna." From lawyers that put it in, to just people that commission just to give to another significant other, like the Poet Laureate of New Hampshire.
Oh, he bought one.
I probably shouldn't say that.
That's
His
okay.
wife is commissioning for Christmas.
Wait,
so,
maybe this will come out after.
Yeah.
If not,
So,
cats out of the
yeah.
bag.
So just,
Could be anybody.
yeah.
That's fantastic. I know that have any of your customers actually bought more than one piece?
Yeah, I have one guy that's bought 3 of them, Casey
He
Holt.
must
So
like you.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, and referring people that have also. So it's great just to always have like a business card on you and hand it out, because you never know like when, like it's going to come back around, and so always be prepared.
Always be prepared. That's
Yeah.
a good. Do you have any words of wisdom for any aspiring artists?
Yeah, it does. Just don't be afraid to be rejected, and always put your name out there. And so I always carry around business cards and postcards, and maybe out of 20 of them, I might get like a hit back, maybe not, but you never know what might come of it. And people, I do a lot of local shows, and if I don't sell anything or if I break even, it's all right, but I'm out there. And 6 months down the road, I might go, hey, I saw your stuff here, and my friend really likes it. I'm just going to send a link, and it goes on from there. And
So keep yourself out
yeah,
there.
keep yourself out there. And
Keep going to all the shows. Like you've done the Greeley show. Have you done any other shows?
yeah, I do
around
the
Nashua?
Manchester Art in the Park as well.
Okay, yeah.
I've shown Nashua Gallery in Nashua, Chimera.
Oh yes.
Yeah, done the art walks.
Oh
so-
yes, Art Walk.
Oh yeah.
And that's coming up soon, actually. That's going to be good this year. Are you in this year's Art
No,
Walk?
I'm not.
Oh,
no.
we're
I'm
gonna
focusing
miss
on
you.
my senior year of college, focusing on my body of work.
Where do you
so.
go to school?
The New Hampshire Institute of Art.
And that's in Manchester.
Yep, that's in Manchester. And
It's your last year?
last year since 2001, I've been there. Just
Why does it take so long?
Working full time, going to school.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's tough to be
so-
an artist sometimes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
Got to pay the bills.
that quote unquote starving artist, but you don't always have to be. And that's, you know, the goal of Art in Action TV, Art in Action in general, is really, you know, art is something that you can live off of. And you just have to keep putting yourself out there.
Yeah, as long I just say, okay, as long as I'm doing 2 hours a week and make sure I make myself make time for that, I'm happy. So
How much time do you put into your work every week?
I'd say about 4 to 5.
Hours?
Yeah, on top of everything else.
Right,
so.
of course, because you have school, work,
Yeah.
your artwork, and any personal life that you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. Yeah. When I have time.
Plenty of time. How many pieces, do you have a goal for like this year? How many pieces you'd like to create? Have you thought about it in those terms?
Well, for my senior project, I have to, in college, I have to make, I set a goal for myself, I'm going to make 20, knowing that only 5, maybe 6 are going to be shown.
Okay.
So that way I can, it's all in the editing. I can go through and say, okay, this one's stronger and this one actually talks with this one. As if I was just to make 6, who knows? You know, it's all about learning and repeating and then building off of them all. So
there's a cutting floor.
Yeah.
In the
Oh,
James Chase studio.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you ever take pieces back apart and
All
then-
the time. Like if, that's the bad thing. Like
What?
if you look at my book, like you go, oh, I see, and then you
See,
look,
please.
and then you look at the piece, it's actually changed. So I need to stop that and just instead of going back though to the same pieces, just continue on. And
Do you want to just pick a picture in there that maybe has pieces from one that went to another?
just new pieces I've added or taken away. That's another thing is with editing, I'm trying to get this message out, but in the clearest, most precise way. So I might be actually taking pieces away and
Wow.
yeah, not just adding.
There's a lot of feeling that goes into your work.
Yeah,
It seems like.
so.
Is that why the dark art got its name and now you're changing because you're not as dark anymore?
It was more of like a gimmick too. Like I was showing like against like watercolors and like all this traditional art, and I just stood out. So I was like, I'm gonna play this up and get my name out there more. So I would just send press releases out. If they put it in the newspaper, they put it in. So I'd be like, oh, the dark art, James Chase is gonna be out in the
That's
park.
catchy.
So they'd be like, what is this? So they
Right.
contact me, and then they meet me, and I hope I'm not that dark.
You're
and,
not
oh,
too
okay.
dark.
So
But we all have a dark side.
so
Darth Vader, look out. James is in the room. Well, I really appreciate all the time that you've given to me here in the studio at your location as well.
Thank you.
And it's so great. I'm glad we're friends, and I really, really, really wish you well with all of your work, and I look forward to seeing you in many other places.
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, fantastic. You're welcome.